Hello, Stoney fam. Happy Token Tuesday. So I have some interesting things that I wanted to share with you guys that I researched when I was pretty stoned. I just saw an article that popped up on my feed on my phone. And when I was reading through it, I found out some crazy things at least I think they're crazy. So I want to share it with you guys. So all of us, every stoner, I would think, and a lot of people in the world, we all know of and love Bob Marley. He was idol to so many people, inspiration to so many, and he really opened a lot of doors for a lot of people influenced by cannabis and music. He's a very talented human being. So just wanted to say that before I started talking about what I had read and all these other things. Some of these facts I also really had no idea myself. That was pretty interesting to learn. And the similarities that I've noticed were, or coincidences, whatever you want to call it, I thought were interesting to share. So getting this started, I had found out that before he was Bob Marley and was a solo artist, he was in a 3-man band, including himself, and the band was called the Wailing Rude Boys, and they had changed their name a couple times. It was the Wailing Wailers and then the Wailers. I'm not really sure why they changed their name a couple times, but they changed their name about 3 times, and that's where you start and you see the number 3, so that's where I wanted to start that off and just say that so you can understand where I'm going with this. On December 3rd, 1976, armed gunmen had stormed Marley's Hope Road, and they had shot Bob Marley, actually, and they shot him in the arm and the chest, and 4 other people had gotten shot and were hurt. One was severely injured, but nobody had gotten killed, thankfully. And that had also happened, and you see again 3, so that was on December 3rd. And when he eventually did pass away, many years later, on May 11th, he had passed away, and when he was buried, he wanted to have 3 things with him. He had his Gibson Les Paul guitar. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He had his guitar, he had his football, and a butt of marijuana. And that was 3 things. And so collectively, those are 3 things that all involve the number 3. And I've always heard the saying that everything comes in 3s. And I thought that was really interesting, on top of the fact that he has the song 3 Little Birds. I don't know if I'm just really stoned and my mind's blown or something, or maybe I'm just crazy, but I just wanted to share that, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And I had no idea that he was in a band prior to him being a solo musician, but that does make sense. I feel like I've known, from reading and researching about different musicians and stuff, that they start off, in a band, or they don't, but I know that does happen, so that does make sense to happen. He also looked very different than he did later on in his life, so I think that's also why it threw me off seeing a picture of him, but it was he looked good either way. I will say I'm very unfamiliar with that music. I only know of Bob Marley's music, his solo music, but yeah, I just thought that was crazy interesting. Another interesting thing that I was learning about while reading stuff about Bob Marley, when I was also just on the phone looking up stuff about weed, I found out that, did you know cannabis is 2,500 years old? It is so gosh darn old. It's been around for many, 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 many years. And it makes a lot of sense. It's been around probably even longer than we could think of, because we've been built with an endocannabinoid system. I just strongly feel that we are meant to have it in our lives, consuming in some form of way. Why else would we have that? It's just my opinion on that. And I was aware that it's been around for a very, very long time, but that was a refresher for me to see the exact number. I was not aware of it. I forgot, or I just wasn't sure at all. Because I thought it was at least 1,000-something years old. Not that old. That's pretty old. But going back to another podcast that I'd done prior, I talked about how it was on the Titanic, and it was mostly wealthy people really had it at the time. So that makes sense. But yeah, I thought that was crazy, and I just had to share that with somebody, and I thought it would be better to share it with you guys. And I'm very excited for Thursday's episode, so stay tuned for that one. That one's going to be much longer than this one, and I can't wait to share what I have in store for you guys. And I wanted to say a big thanks to everyone that's been listening since the beginning, and if you're new here, hi, I'm Tia.